in for a treat with your host, Mac Attram, and I have Joey Drolshagen with me here. I'm sure he's going to say his surname properly for us, but he is joining us today because he has something my team says, look, if you want to achieve any level of success in life, whether it's relationship, whether it's money, whether it's business, as an entrepreneur, you really need to understand how your mind works and how your mind is actually helping you go down that right path to get that result, or hindering you or holding you back, deeply ingrained in what he calls your subconscious thoughts. We're going to go deeper into this. Before we do that, Joey, I want to say welcome to the Business and Wealth Show.
It's great to be here with you, Mac. And just the conversation we had prior to this has me pumped up and excited for a great conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm excited to speak with you as well. Generally, Joey, I like to start these calls about, I know your expertise is as a life coach, as a success coach, helping people all over. But what prompted your entrepreneurial journey? How long have you been doing what you've been doing? Were you doing something else before? What does all that look like?
Yeah, and you know, aside from what I do, I have a 28-year career in corporate America, building huge territories, developing new boundaries, things like that, and also leading multiple organizations that were in bankruptcy back into profitability. That's a really hard life, and it's never what I wanted to do. From the time I was 22 years old, I wanted to be a free spirit. I wanted to help, I wanted to inspire, motivate, and lead other people to living better lives, to achieving what they wanted to achieve. But Mac, I didn't know how to do that myself at that age, and I became a student of the works I do today. And about 12 years ago, I've gained multiple certifications in what I do and how I do it, pertaining to business and entrepreneurs, realtors, and insurance people, and helping them to really thrive, helping them to get out of their own way and really get into that quick growth mode to where they want their business to be, and not give up their entire life to do so. And I've had a lot of success with almost 1,000 clients over the past decade of helping them achieve beyond what they even thought they wanted to achieve, and raise that goal up for what they wanted to, how big they wanted their business to be. And I'm excited to get to talk to you about that today.
Well, I'm excited to hear more about that. So stay tuned. If you've ever found yourself in a place where you think things are not working, this is not what I wanted, why am I stuck here? Why am I stuck like this? Why aren't I moving as forward fast as I would like to? There's a reason why. And one of the things that Joey created is something called the SMT method. Now, I want to get deep into that and say, okay, what is SMT? Why is it important? Go ahead, Joey.
Yeah, in the SMT method, it stands for subconscious mindset training. And really quickly, Mac, I'll explain, because I want to get to all the goodies to give to people. But really quickly, we have a conscious mind, and that's the mind that we're focused on, where we do our strategizing, all that, the words we use, like all that's in the conscious mind. And we hear a lot of this on things like the law of attraction and things like that. And what I bring to the game that I feel so few people do is almost like the steroids to build up that law of attraction to happen even quicker. So we have the conscious mind. And that's everything we're focused on. We have total control over our conscious mind. It's where we do our planning, our strategizing, all of that. And then we have the subconscious mind. And in the subconscious mind, we don't have control over it. It just absorbs whatever the conscious mind is focused on. So when you have realtors right now, or business people right now, that we hear about how like the economy is dropping down later this year and stuff, that are tied to that fear of that, that's what they're feeding in the subconscious mind. And then within the subconscious mind, there's this, what I call a motherboard of all of our programming, our paradigms, our which is really our habits, our behaviors, our belief system, all lies within that subconscious. And all it does is plays those over and over and over again, which is the voice that we hear in our head. But the other really critical point of the subconscious is the subconscious is what triggers our brain waves to the actions that we take or the actions that we don't take. So somebody that's living in fear of the economy, or fear of the recession, or the housing market, they're not going to take actions out of that fear that are the exact actions they need to take to grow their business in times like this.
Right. So I get it. So we're gonna continue more on that, because I just wanted to touch on something you said. You know, people sitting in fear, and that's the majority of the population. because of the media that they're consuming. If the media is saying A and the subconscious is taking it in, and because I've had clients in the past and I said, why do you think that way? Why are you feeling a bit icky or sick or whatever it is? And it turns out she's been watching a lot of the news, and this is a lot of it was during the COVID situation. And I said, look, for a week, don't watch any news. Don't watch any news. If there's a disaster, someone will tell you, but don't watch any news and see what happens. 1 week later, I speak to her. She's smiling. She's a bit more positive. Why does that happen? Why do most people live in a state of fear triggered by media?
You think about that. If you're a business owner and you've got your heart and your passion and everything into this business, right? I mean, it's a lover. To be a business owner, to be an entrepreneur, I don't know how else to say it, but it's an intense lover that's in your life, right? And you have all this emotion tied to it and everything. And then you hear about how the market's going to start dropping, and you hear about how this is happening, and you hear about how jobs are going down and people are laying out, and you start hearing that CNN, what I call CNN, constant negative news. You start hearing that, naturally you're going to start going into protective mode. Naturally, you're going to start cutting back on things like marketing, on things like sales, on things like, like whatever it is, areas. But we naturally, as we get fearful of situations or of potential situations, which we know and we hear so often, things like acronyms for fear, false evidence appearing real. So when it shows up and we're hearing it from constant sources, from continuous conversations and TV, news, whatever it is, it builds that fear up even more. Then that's in the subconscious. So our subconscious is always trying to guide us. So it's going to lead us into, ideas that would make it better for us. We pull away and withdraw from, because the subconscious is trying to protect us against that false evidence. So and that's what I'm saying. In that motherboard triggers our brain waves to the actions we take or do not take. So right now, I work with business owners, entrepreneurs, and realtors. Sorry about that. Is my main, my business. That's what I work with. And so often I'm talking to them right now, and it's like, well, I cut one of my salespeople, and it's like, wait a minute. Even if the economy gets bad right now, cutting your salesperson is going to impact you, cutting the time you're putting in sales. So many business owners and entrepreneurs, they got this passion to build this business, and they spend the majority of their time working in their business versus working on their business. And so helping people identify what these are, helping them identify those beliefs and those patterns that are causing the limitation, is how I help them, by developing systems of accelerating habits that launch them out of that and back onto that growth mode of where they want to be. And one of the ideas I'll give you for this, Mac, is when you look at business owners, there's business owners who thrive in down economies. And then there's other business owners who struggle even in a booming economy. All of that right there is attributed directly to mindset and that subconscious conditioning playing out.
You've got it. Right. Excellent. So you mentioned the word fear, and you mentioned the acronym, and there's many acronyms for fear: false evidence, appearing real, and many others. But we know that if entrepreneurs, business owners want to succeed, they have to take action. And they have to take the right action. But if I have asked many people, and I've asked many entrepreneurs, what gets in the way of you taking that action? And the word fear comes in. The word fear comes in, whether it's disguised as doubt, I don't know how, I can't do this, whatever it is, it's some form of fear. So what I want to ask is, what is fear then, in essence? What is real fear? Because you said your mind's trying to protect you, but on the other hand, you're trying to build a business to the next level. You understand what I'm saying?
I think I do. Yeah. I mean, fear really, I live in the mountains in South Carolina. I love it. If I ever had a bear chasing me through the woods, there would be fear. There would be adrenaline. There would be all of the things, that go with things like that. But we so rarely have things like that happen that really, and at that point, it's not really, it doesn't come up as fear. It comes up as that, like, fight or flight type of a thing that comes up in us, right? Which is built into us. But what happens is we get these ideas that scare us. We get these ideas of these possibilities that could happen, and we start living in them like as if they're going to happen no matter what. Right. And so what happens is all of our insides, all of our thoughts, all of our, conditioning, all that starts rolling around as if that becomes our truth. One of the things, I'll give you an example. Somebody who's lacking finances and things like that, they'll come to me and we'll talk, and they'll go, every time I get some money, something comes up and takes that. Every time I get excess of money, something comes up, a car breaks down, a furnace breaks, whatever it is, and takes that money. And you know what their experience is, Mac?
Go ahead.
Every time they get an excess of money, something comes up to take that money. It's that they're programming that truth, and it becomes our reality. And that's basic how all this works. When we hear all the things about what we think is what we experience, it really works that way. It's a little more complicated in the fact of that subconscious, because if we have a failure in a business or we have an upset in finances in our business, that program will play over and over and over again. And we'll keep reliving that in other areas, in every area, in other areas of life, where anytime something similar to that comes up, that programming of what happened before is going to stop people from taking that action. It makes sense on how strong fear is in stopping us from going through, building, growing, scaling, whatever you want to call it, with what we desire to experience in life.
And thank you for that explanation. So in your experience, and you've worked with different types of people, like you said, real estate agents, you've worked with entrepreneurs, business owners, you've worked with and you've worked with them at different levels as well. Now, you've worked with successful people and soon to be successful people. Have you found a common pattern that even successful people have forms of fear one way or another? Or is it just those people trying to get going?
I'll tell you, Mac, that's a great question and great conversation thing to bring up here, because I don't think I've ever met somebody who's content where they are. So I've worked with people who are making like $20,000 revenue, a month, and struggling and things like that, all the way up to into the millions of dollars, that $1 million organizations and things like that and stuff, and small businesses too, with entrepreneurs and things of that nature. And every one of them, it's almost like, when we talk about the glass ceiling, there's no glass ceiling. There is no. What creates that glass ceiling is our mind on what we think it is. And I'll give you an instance. I was working with a wholesaler. I'm still working with him. I was working with a wholesaler over the last 6-7 months. And when he came to me, he was making like $34,000 a month in his business. He had a line of credit he was leaning on to cover the additional that he needed and everything else, with the and so he'd been going. So I said to him, what would just wow you to get to, like, revenue wise? What would that be? And he said, if I could get to $50,000 a month. Now he's at 34. If I can get to $50,000 a month, then I would be able to not only not have to rely on the line of credit, but I could kind of dwindle it down over time. That would be great. And I go, so your very best vision you can come up with is $50,000 a month. Like, that's kind of a small step.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's what happens, is we get in these modes where we're looking at our situations, circumstances, and conditions to define what's possible for us. And it's because we're conditioned to live realistically.
So
right?
Go on, carry on.
So that we're programmed to live realistically. But no entrepreneur or business owner starts a business with a vision of realistic.
That's right.
We pipe dream, right? It's big. So when I talked to this gentleman and we went through it, I ended up pumping his vision up with him, and the things I do with the coaching kind of builds that belief. In January, February, and March, and April, January, February, March, and now April, he has toppled over $200,000 a month in revenue.
And he had that limiting belief, which you then just crushed right there.
Yes. And even when I brought up the fact of, I told him 150, I got him pumped up to 150, and I just couldn't get him beyond that with the vision part of it, you know?
Uh-huh.
And so to topple over that and be where he's at, now we're talking, what's the next level for you? And you know what it is? And he can easily say it, believe it, and see it at $1 million a month revenue. And
Right.
now we're building the team to do that.
Right. So now what you've said there very well there, Joey, is he was around 34,000. I think that's what you said.
Yes.
He could not see beyond 50. How do you get someone who is stuck in their own way, not moving, thinking, oh, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be between 34 and 50, 34 and 50. And you literally crush those limiting beliefs, those self-limiting, self-doubt, self-sabotaging beliefs. And suddenly, bosh, 150,000, 200,000 a month. How do you do that?
That is such a great question. And so what I do, and I've used this all the way back to when I helped organizations within months go from bankruptcy. And I'm talking organizations with like 380, 400 employees that were at one time $100 million of organizations that were in bankruptcy. I've used the same tools there and proved them out that I'm now using with all of my clients is I start every single person or organization I work with, Mac, with developing what I call a dynamic vision. And I have road mapping tools for that. So with this gentleman, when he got to $50,000, I started taking him through those tools and working through them. That's how I got him to get excited about $150,000 a month. And then when he blew that away, and he did that without adding any staff, without adding any marketing numbers. So he didn't go out and now hire a bunch of things to get that. His costs remained, other than product, remained the same as they were at the $34,000. So once we got that vision, it starts building where we can start to see this, you know, where like a lot of times when we're doing the 90 days, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year goals and things like that, we're so close to our current situation and circumstances that we don't see as much opportunity. And what I do is help people broaden that so they see that bigger, wider opportunity. And two things I got to say here. One is the reason I'm so excited about this is because I have been able to take almost 1,000 clients through this process in the last decade with success, which allows me to offer 100% money back guarantee when I work with somebody. If you don't get the results, I'll give you your money back. I don't want it. You follow this, it'll lead you to it. And then the third thing that I want to add to it is so often we're taught to go to somebody who's successful, ask them how they did it, do the same thing. But you'll see coaching programs where people are paying tens of thousands of dollars to somebody who became successful at what they're doing. And do you know what percentage of those people ever achieve that same level of success?
Probably less than 20%.
Less than 1%.
And
the reason being is, Mac, your pathway to success for you is based on that conditioning and everything else. So it's going to be unique to you. Mine is unique to me because of that same conditioning. So what I do different from most coaching programs is I never tell my clients what to do here. I laid out the process, and it becomes an individual path building process for each person. In other words, it becomes a unique journey for each person going through it. And that's how I've been able to help people, gentlemen like him there at 250 and now go to $1 million. I've been able to help realtors who, when I met him, were selling $7 million in homes a year. Within a 1 year process, jump up to $23 million a year. And in that same year, it was the only time of their life that they took 5 weeks of vacation in that same 12 calendar months.
That's great. Making more money, having some time off to enjoy their life as well. So, you know, I'm loving what you're saying there. What is the difference between someone saying, hey, Joey, it's all woo-woo stuff here. Joey, I write my goals down every single year and I know what I'm doing each month. Yeah, I'm still not getting ahead. What's the difference to someone who's saying, I'm writing my goals down all the time, and the work you do?
one of the things is because of growing up in corporate America, with a career there and understanding goals and all that stuff and SMART goals and all of those things and everything. That one of the key differences, I don't work on goals.
Mm.
A goal. Here's a goal. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And then the very next thing is I figure out the process I'm going to follow to do that, right? I
Right.
start going through my logical mind of utilizing my to-dos and my schedule and my strategies and everything else. And as best as our logical mind can be, it's so limiting compared to what's possible for us. So when I work off of a vision, when I help somebody build a vision, Mac, they have no idea how the hell that's going to come to fruition in their life.
Right.
But we build that excitement around that vision and build that up. And so then from there, we start opening. You ever hear like out of the blue?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like every client I work with, realtors, I talked to realtors last night. I do a mastermind session specific for realtors weekly. And we were on there last night and everybody's talking about all these out of the blue listings or out of the blue buyers that show up and things like that. When we get into the mode, opportunities are coming by us all day long. But when we're living our life in that logical place and strategizing and to-dos and everything else, they're just going by us. So what I help people do is get into that mindset alignment and then become open to that. The realtor I talked to that went to $23 million a year, you know what her next problem was? Is there's so much business she doesn't know how to handle it. She can't do it all herself. So we did another vision around what would be the perfect assistant for her in her life. Yeah. And this is one example. Mm-hmm. Within 2 weeks, a girl walks into her office and says, "Hey, I've been hearing so much about you. I'm a dental hygienist, but I really love real estate, but I don't want to sell real estate. I just want to be involved in it. And I'm wondering if you need an assistant."
Interesting.
And do you know they've been together for 3 years now? And it's almost like they're I kid them, like the Bobbsey twins. The girl has now gone and got a real estate license, but not to list and sell real estate, but so she can take on additional help and additional tasks and such that you have to have a realtor license to do for my client. When I'm helping a company, once we scale, then we start building that team. When I do that, it becomes open it's not coming from only here that we're trying to figure out. This is only a part of it in developing the vision for it. And then we allow it to unfold. And awesome. We do not live in a culture that's comfortable with allowing things to unfold, because if you want something, you got to make it happen. You got to take massive actions. You got all the other crap that I've invested into for so long to realize, no, there's a better way.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's fantastic. Hey, you're listening to Joey and Mac here on the Business and Wealth Show. We are talking all things mindset, subconscious mind, conscious mind, SMT method. That's subconscious mind training. Why do you think, Joey, that lots of people don't live the life that they really dream of, or live the life they really want? So I'm talking especially entrepreneurs and business owners here.
Yeah, and it's because they've been told. I talk to a lot of people who are working in a job and they really have a passion for their own business, and I help them set that up, and then we take the next step of scaling that quickly. But you have people with the entrepreneurial mindset. And they'll talk to their friends who are working at a job sitting next to them, and they'll talk to their family who have lived their whole life in a job. So that's right there. That's all that conditioning stuff, And what I tell people is, if you really want to start your own business and you're not doing so yet, talk to some other business owners. Don't talk to people living the same life you're living, because if they believed it was possible, they'd be doing it. So that's part of it. Another part of it is when you look at our past. I had a gentleman come to me and he had this great business idea for like 7 years. He never did anything with it because 10 years prior, he bought a car wash, and he was all excited and he bought this thing and everything else. But at that time, he didn't do his due diligence. He didn't look at traffic patterns and things like that to see how much. So he bought this, and within 6 months closed it because there wasn't enough traffic to bring people in.
Right.
So he carried that as his conditioning all the way up until I met him. And now he's got this business idea that he could have been reaping the benefits of for 7 years that was sitting idle because of that car wash. So once I helped him repattern that car wash and realize what it taught him in that experience, Now he steps into this business and we start doing it, and he knows what to look into. He looks into everything he can possibly think of, and all that stuff with the business he's going into. And now all of a sudden the guy's flourishing, he's growing, he's like expanded, and so we use our past that gets stored in our conditioning. We end up using that against us.
Yeah.
We end up using it to limit us and to hold us back from. A sidebar to this, Mac, is when COVID hit, we were all locked down and everything else, and it's like I really wanted to do something. So I took up hang gliding. I've always wanted to soar. So I went through the training and everything else. And this past on November, I took my first launch off of it. I ran off of a 2,000-foot mountaintop with nothing but me and a hang glider strapped to me. And that fear stepped up, and it was going, there's 3 steps and then you're in the air.
Yeah.
And they got the clearance and everything. I'm standing there and this thing's up, and I could feel my stomach going, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I took the first step, and then it got stronger. I could feel it in my throat. It felt like my whole upper body was like my heart was beating throughout everything in my being. And then after the third step, I left the ground, and that fear instantly disintegrated. It was gone. And it was just amazing from there forward. Our fear is trying to protect us and keep us safe.
Yeah.
But fear, when we get to that other side, is where we find that great edge, that edge of greatness that we're desiring. It's just the other side of that fear.
Awesome. As you hear from Joey, your success is outside of your comfort zone. It's outside of that fear zone. So as Suzanne Jeffers says in her book, feel the fear and do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. With Joey, feeling the fear, taking the 1, 2, 3 step, and then hand gliding through. Hey, Joey, for those who want to contact you, connect with you, what's the best way for them to do? I know you do a lot of work and for a lot of people. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And I'd love to talk to people about that vision. Just get on the phone and talk about that difference between goals, and we'll shift that over into a vision. And the other thing I just want to say really quick, Mac, is when we talk about this stuff, part of the conditioning is it keeps us in taking common actions over and over and over and over. And it's kind of like Einstein's theory, right? Doing the same thing, expecting different results.
Right.
If we take common actions, we'll only ever get common results. So to get uncommon results, we have to we have to take uncommon actions, which can be uncomfortable to do, but with having assistance and help and a guidance through that. So the best way people can get a hold of me and talk more about this, Mac, is to reach out to me at coachwithjoey.com. All one word, coachwithjoey.com. We'll set up a 10-minute conversation. We'll get on there if you want to talk about visioning, you want to talk about a fear you have, and maybe get a little assistance on how to get that step into it and such. But understand, being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, there's going to be fear. But we can have fear, but kick it the hell out of the driver's seat of our life. And that's what I love helping people do, Mac.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That's coachwithjoey.com. Now, if you're trying to build your business, grow your business, start your business, you're trying to build your wealth, grow your income, fear will be there. All right. So listen to Joey, catch up with him, 10-minute free conversation. He can help you to reassign your mind and go for what you really want and not keep dreaming, but really go for it. So you're listening to the Business and Wealth Show with Joey and Mac. Remember to subscribe, remember to follow, remember to share this, make comments on here as well. And so that we know what you got out of this as well. I'm serious, because the more comments you make and the more followers we get, the more awesome people we can bring to you, just like Joey here. Joey, any last words before we sign off?
I just want to tell everybody, like, one of my favorite quotes in my life is by Marianne Williamson. And I never say it the way she does, Mac, but the being powerless isn't our real fear. We're not afraid of being powerless. What our real fear is how powerful we really are. And when we tap into that, which means we clear away some of the beliefs and the conditioning causing limitation, and you clear that away, it's available to, if you're breathing, it's available to you. And then the last thing I'll say is, for the 10-minute call, anybody that wants to have that conversation, great. And as a result of that, I'll send a free case study video that'll help you start taking the steps to start scaling quicker at whatever level your business or desire for a business is right now. So
Superb. Excellent. Joey, I want to say thank you for giving of yourself, giving of your heart, giving of your 10 minutes of your time to anybody who jumps in and books with you. So remember, everyone, coachwithjoey.com to spend time with Joey. Joey, thank you. Until we speak again, and have much love. God bless you. Keep doing what you're doing. Awesome work.
God bless, Mac. Thank you very much. Great conversation.
Most
God bless
welcome.
everyone.
Most welcome.